let's start off with Flashback, or if you want to give it its full name, Flashback: The Quest for Identity.
Oh yeah,
that is the name.
People often forget
you
that.
never really see that anywhere. It wasn't on the box, or was it?
It's quite a long title. Let's be honest.
Flashback:
Try
Quest
getting
for
that on a
Identity.
cart. You couldn't get that on the side of a cart.
It's only
could you?
4 words.
The Quest for Identity. Oh, maybe you could. I suppose you can get Dungeons and Dragons and all that bits on it. But
okay.
So launched in 1992
Yeah.
by Delphine Software International.
Yes.
Arguably the best French development house ever.
Partly because I don't really do
No,
many
I think-
others.
Did it come up after Another World then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is their
Was
not
it?
their sequel to it. It was done by a different.
Yeah.
Obviously, that one was Eric
Eric
Chahi.
Chahi, yeah.
This one was Pod Quisse.
Yeah.
So this is his baby.
Mhm.
Launched in 1992 by them on PC, Amiga, Mega Drive, the lesser known Mega CD version.
Oh.
Yeah, and Tiertex actually did the 3DO version and SNES versions, and then later on did a few other versions, culminating in the last known port, which was on the.
Atari Jaguar.
I had to set that up for you.
Now I want that game of the Jaguar. I don't own it on the Jaguar. It's going for silly
It's a
money.
hefty sum.
Yeah.
When we're talking silly money, what are we talking?
Well, on
Three
eBay,
figures.
no, not that game. It's about 70, 80 quid.
This is
It's a
the
lot,
thing. So
yeah.
apparently it's a direct port. So maybe not bother. But I know you want to grow your Jaguar
A
collection.
direct port of which one? The Amiga version?
The Amiga Mega Drive version. So
Okay.
don't worry too much about it.
I'll keep an eye out for
Most
it.
of the Jaguar games are about 16-bit games anyway. So,
That's easy.
Cheeky.
Well, I think that they were
so
the ones
it
that...
came out on the Mega Drive in 92 as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I always had it in my head that it was 93, but that's...
No, it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it was
Okay.
92 because it felt
do
like
not
the
dispute
it felt like the PC Amiga versions were a lot sooner, but I don't think they were really.
Okay.
The Jaguar version lasted 95. So the
Wow.
game actually spanned itself 3 years. That's pretty impressive. Let's be honest.
Definitely.
On the face of it, very standard multi-screen platformer, like those, like Pitfall on the Atari. I think it switches.
Yeah.
Switches screen doesn't scroll with the character, but it is anything but a standard multi-screen
Damn right.
platformer.
The game that really I think it compares to maybe is Prince of Persia. Is that a fair comparison?
There's two it compares to. It basically Prince of Persia and Another World.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can kind of follow the lineage of those games, the animation and the style of gameplay, and it just, it was the next step along that path, wasn't it?
And Another World. I don't want to send to Another World podcast, but that is a great game. So it just taking on from that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd really like to do a podcast on that and the sequel.
We will.
So
We will.
we've got to, someone's got to get their
We'll
hands
do
on
that
that.
at some point. Yeah.
Someone, Keith, has to get their hands on that.
Okay.
So,
Delegation.
actually, I don't think any of us own a Mega CD.
No.
I really want one. We were talking about this before. I really want one because I want to play Snatcher, and Road Avenger and stuff like that.
Yeah, Sewer Shark.
Yeah.
A friend I used to go to primary school with had one. And
Yeah.
I played like that one, the Sherlock Holmes games, Night Trap, great.
I would definitely. If I'm not really interested in a 32X, but a Mega CD definitely.
Get it.
If someone knows of a cut price
Definitely.
Mega CD, please let us know.
We're in the market.
We're in the market.
Definitely.
Anyway, so for listeners who've not ever heard of Flashback, and this is possible, we're not going to say that, even though I've listed it as one of my favourite games of all time, there are other people who, don't even know what the hell it is. So, I'll set the scene for you.
Do it.
It's the year 2140.
2140.
So it's something that
It's
we
a
don't
way
have to
off.
worry about in our lifetime. Yeah. Conrad Hart,
Mm-hmm.
or if you want his full name, Conrad B.
B.
Hart, yeah, is just randomly chased by mutants. Yeah, like he's chased out of a spaceship and he jumps on his hover bike. So this is set in space.
Laser shooting behind him.
Laser shooting is behind him.
Isn't it like the first thing you see, like his feet?
Yeah, he's
His
running.
feet running as he's being chased.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like
running.
cool
He's
kind
being
of-
chased by the mutants. He jumps on his hover bike. They pursue him through space.
Yep.
He crash lands on a planet called Titan. It's like a jungle, and you don't know what's going on.
Who am I? Where am I?
Who am I? Where am I? Why were those guys chasing me? Those are the first questions that you're gonna have. You know, okay, you're gonna be hungry, and you're like, no, where's the nearest KFC? But firstly, what is my name? Is probably the more pertinent question. but he has in his pocket a holocube. Now, what is a holocube, you may ask, listeners? A holocube is something that you can record messages on to play back to you. But who is the message from on this holocube? It is from himself.
Dun, dun,
Wow.
dun.
He recorded a message for himself telling him to meet his friend Ian in a place called New Washington.
New Washington, that's right.
Okay, so there's a nice American link there as well from the French development team. So after he meets Ian, so you get out of the jungle and you meet Ian in New Washington.
But it does take a while to get out of the jungle. It's
I've skipped on a little bit just to give the
he's just doing the
listeners
story.
yeah.
We'll come back to that.
No, I'm
I
just
wanted
giving
to
the
say a few
listeners
things
a
about it as well.
feel of what the game's about. So he meets Ian and has his memory restored.
Yes.
Which is what you want from your mate. Like, if I said, Adrian, I know who you are, I know who I am, but I could really do with my memory being restored.
I'll help you out.
Thanks, man.
Anytime.
That's good to know. So, he puts his memory back in, and then he finds out he's a clever boy, is our Conrad. Very clever boy.
Good education.
For his end-of-year thesis, I've never done a thesis in my life, right? But for his end-of-year thesis, he's developed goggles that can detect aliens amongst the human race. Yes.
This sounds like the
Oh
film
wait,
They
there's a
Live.
whole wait with it. We've got to
Wait
do
for
a
it.
bit later where we go through all the films that
Yes, we will do that.
Reference.
Adrian,
Okay, sorry.
Hold those
hold on to your
horses.
I just
horses.
like that film a lot.
Yeah, it's a great.
Hold on to your horses / hover bike. Okay, this is coming up. Right? So, he's got these goggles. So, over the course of the last few years, mutants have been blending in with the human race, obviously to take advantage and, establish themselves and, were they even doing any harm to anyone? Who knows? Who cares? Anyway, so they're angry with him that he made those goggles. Thus, how the whole thing started in the first place. They had to hunt him down.
Conrad.
They hunt him down and they wiped his memory. But good old Conrad, being a clever boy, stored it anyway with him.
Yeah.
Go, Conrad.
Smart guy.
And the game goes from that point, and he has to take down the morphs, as they're called, / mutants. And the only way he's going to do it is if he gets back to Earth. Now, how does a man who's randomly crashed on a planet get to Earth with no money? He has to make some money.
Yeah. He has to make some money.
Earn some dollar.
How does he make money?
Become a pizza delivery boy or something. I don't know.
Close. He has to do he has to do lots of jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one section of the game is doing lots of jobs, as you and I would do,
Of course.
in order to get a ticket for a game show where you could get a ticket to
Earth.
Boom.
Earthbound.
Brilliant. So it's a very film noir feel game, but it's grounded in the way that it's sci-fi, but it's there's that realistic angle.
Man got no money.
Man got no money.
Got
Man
good
got
money.
no money. Man got no memory.
Yeah, man.
Man find memory. Man find money.
Job.
Man,
Find
yeah.
job.
Find job.
Go
Save
on.
the planet.
Yeah.
All right. And everything, all the morphs are controlled and commanded by the evil master brain.
Oh yes.
Master
Yeah.
brain.
So, spoiler alert now. So, listeners, you may want to mute me. You end up going back to the morphs planet after sorting out, going back to Earth and sorting out there, and you defeat the master brain.
Yes.
And you escape in an escape pod and into outer space.
And that's game over.
That's game over. That's end of podcast.
Goodbye.
End of podcast. Bye.
Yeah.
So, all of this is, like I said, it's multi-screen. It's all interlinked with cutscenes that let you know what's going on.
Yeah.
They do vary from version to version. So,
Oh yeah.
the 16-bit versions, they are lower quality, but they tell the same. They tell the
Yeah,
same.
I mean the
same
PC
stories.
version's got very nice full motion video, hasn't
Mhm.
it? But I kind of like the 16-bit ones. They've got kind of their own charm.
Kind of cell shaded, isn't it? Really quite nice animation. I always loved the little intro bits.
Glad you mentioned that.
Oh.
Because this was one of the first games. I think Prince of Persia might have used it actually before, but it used rotoscoped animation.
Yes.
I think Prince of Persia was the first.
Prince of Persia was the first, and then I don't think, and then Another World. Then no one really used it on the 16 bits
No, it wasn't really
for a while, and then Flashback sort of, reminded us of how good a technique it was at the time. Now, do you know how that is done?
Didn't they actually film real people and just literally copy and draw their motions? Is that right?
Got it.
Yeah.
Listeners, you can't see this, but I'm pointing at
He's
you.
pointing. He's pointing.
You are the winner.
You have got it.
So Prince of Persia was a great game. They not stole, but they used their techniques and probably perfected it at the time. Would you say?
Yeah. And that's why this really stood out on the 16-bit consoles, because it was watching, actual, real running, jumping, climbing, but on a 16-bit machine, on the Amiga, a 16-bit computer. It's
When you look at Conrad's sprite, the sprite itself isn't that detailed.
No, it doesn't need to.
But it's the way it moves.
The
way it moves is so realistic that it just it kind of fools your brain.
Well, I remember
So
actually,
clever.
I got a bit of a flashback thinking about it. Excuse the pun,
Someone
but
had to.
I remember going to my friend Usman's house one day after school.
Usman, we had to get Usman on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know
at
what?
some point.
He introduced me to a lot of games, and his older brother was into games as well. And I remember going to his house once, and it was like, "Oh, check this new game out!" And I was just watching the screen, and his brother was playing a new game called Flashback, and it was. I hadn't seen Another World by then, even though it was a few years before. But this was the first. I've already seen Prince of Persia, but Flashback. When I saw it, I was just happy to watch.
Yeah.
Some games, I'm dying to have a go, but I was just happy to watch what was going on the screen because it was just like a movie, wasn't it? In a way.
It was.
It's such, I just that first time I saw it, it just ingrained in my memory, and I had to get a copy.
I think the term is immersive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It really was.
It defined immersive that year. Come on.
For on 16-bit consoles, that kind of immersion was rare.
It was.
Unless you're maybe playing like an RPG.
Yeah.
Certainly like platform games and action games, you didn't tend to get sucked into the world and the story like you did with Flashback. So
I thought the jungle setting was really interesting as well because it was kind of human-y but kind of alien-y. It was like, where are we exactly?
It was almost familiar but not.
Yeah.
I did get that, and I really like that first level. Do you know why? Because it's almost in that first level you learn everything you need to learn about all the different moves Conrad's got, how to use the weapon, but without it being like an out-and-out tutorial level. Like nowadays, it would just walk you through it all.
Yeah.
So you do have to work it out, but it gives you time to work it out, learn the controls and all the rest of it, but without being too blatant about it.
You can learn throwing stuff in it as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Stuff that you need later on, but it's one of the many good things about this game.
It's really well designed, that level.
Best-selling French game of all time according to the Guinness World Book of Records.
Still to this day.
Wow.
To this day.
Is there a number on that? Like how many?
10 billion.
Holy!
I don't know.
That's a
I
lot.
didn't know if there
I
was
tried to follow the trail on the internet and I couldn't find it, but
Okay, well it must be a lot though.
I'll find out for you later.
Thank you.
Just because, because you were talking about human moves. Conrad, he's no Sonic the Hedgehog. He doesn't blitz across the screen in 2
that's
seconds.
true.
He runs like us. He walks like us. He shoots a gun like us.
He could roll and shoot, can't he? Am I mentioning?
Yes.
Yeah.
He can roll and shoot like us. You see me.
I've seen
you see me in the
seen you do it
arcade.
all the time, man.
You've seen me in the arcade on Time Crisis. Come on.
Stop rolling on the floor, Dill. We're playing Time Crisis.
If he falls from 2 stories,
He dies.
he dies.
Just like you would, probably.
Yeah,
I don't know, 2 stories.
Oh.
You might be alright.
I don't know. I wouldn't be very happy.
You'd probably be crawling after it, but yeah.
Depends how you land.
I would be
but
crawling. There's only 7 levels in the game.
Is that a slight negative then? Would you say?
No,
I don't know.
they're
It's
huge.
not. Especially
They're
the second,
huge.
The second level's huge, isn't it?
They're huge.
Really big.
Password system.
Yeah. Standard
They're
back then.
huge. Clear one. Take a day. Clear one of them. Store your password. You're set for the next day. Flashback. End of podcast. Just kidding again. Right. The core of the game, as I mentioned to you earlier, remained the same on all formats.
Yeah.
The SNES version, which is actually one of my least favourite versions,
Doesn't he have a different colour shirt in
Yes.
the SNES version?
Why?
Are you stealing my trivia?
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
trivia thief.
You stealing my
Sorry.
trivia?
I just know quite a lot about Flashback. Sorry.
On my favourite versions of the game, he's wearing a white shirt.
Yep.
On that version of the game, he's wearing a pink shirt.
He wants to
Why? Why?
That's one of the ones that was developed by Tiertex, well, as opposed to Delphine Software
Change the
International.
colour of his shirt.
They changed the. I'm not the leader of
Why?
Tiertex.
Why?
I'm not the CEO of Tiertex. I didn't go into their graphics department and go, guys, can you make Conrad's shirt pink? I think that's a striking look for
It
him.
would look fabulous.
He would look fabulous in his pink top. But that is so that's how I think. Check the Jaguar version. It's a Tiertex version.
Oh, nice.
If it's got pink
Pink shirt.
if he's got pink shirt in it, then
Don't buy it.
don't buy it. Some of the feedback it got at the time. Actually, before I go into that, there were a few things that were removed from early versions. So I don't know if you guys knew, but some of I think the early Amiga version had a zoom mode when he's attacking.
Oh yes.
Don't
And
remember
it was
this.
to help you
Zoomed.
to search for items as well, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. But
that's
in
the
the
idea.
version I got, which I think was about maybe a year, it was on the Delphine. It was on the Delphine collection on the Amiga. It was a couple of years after, and it wasn't on there, so it was just it was all zoomed out. But yeah, early versions, there was a zoom mode.
Really?
But you don't need a zoom mode for Flashback.
No.
Really.
You know, you don't. What you're going to zoom in to see his no face?
His pink shirt, maybe. You want to see his pink
You're going to see
shirt.
his pink shirt and see the lack of buttons on it. It's a t-shirt, isn't it? What am I talking about? I'm mad. Some of the reviews at the time. GamePro, 5 out of 5.
Yep.
Sega Force, 95%. Mean
Yep.
Machine Sega, which Keith got me got me the other day for Christmas, 93%.
Good.
Boom.
SNES Force, 93%. Even though it's a lot more sluggish, I think, than the Amiga and Mega Drive versions. Like I said, I got it on the Amiga in the Delphine collection. Have you guys tried to play the Amiga version or the PC version?
I used to own the Amiga version. I loved it.
Doesn't really work on a one-button joystick, does it?
No, it doesn't.
How does it work? Explain to
How
me.
it worked was that I had to jam my Master System pad into my Amiga, as I was wont to do back in those days, as opposed to the joystick. And you pressed spacebar to draw your gun, and I think you pressed Control to open up the menu. So you basically had to be Jean-Michel Jarre and play the pad and your keyboard at the same time.
Whoa.
Yikes.
Which I managed to nail because I was a child who was playing it relentlessly week on week.
Yeah.
I can't believe you used a joypad instead of a joystick for the Amiga. I think that's
Is that
that's
sacrilege?
scandalous for me. Yeah, sorry.
You try playing
How did you
Flashback.
play it with one button? How did you play it?
I managed. I can't remember how now. I don't
You
know.
must have used that two-finger technique with the stick in there and then your thumb on the button. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked. If you tried to do that and that with the key, it wouldn't have worked.
Maybe that's why I didn't complete the game.
But the Amiga graphics were great. But I took the option of getting the Mega Drive version on pre-owned afterwards. So that was I took the hit on the cut sequences between the levels
For the better gameplay, possibly.
but playing it with the it was
alright.
Mega Drive Joy. And actually, Paul Cuisset says that his favourite version of the game is the Mega Drive version. He says it was built for that console, and I agree with him. I think if you're gonna go for a version of Flashback, take the hit on the cut sequences and get the Mega Drive version.
Okay.
It was published by US Gold, wasn't it?
Well, US Gold, what
I know,
what a
right.
publisher!
When you consider a lot of the stuff they've published was not the best.
No, they were still
Flashback
prolific.
They were prolific, but there was a lot of rubbish.
I liked
So Flashback was quite a coup for them.
I liked all their Olympic games and
yeah.
Gold.
Yeah.
US Gold did some of the indie games as well, didn't they? I liked US Gold. I know they had a few dodgy titles.
Maybe we'll talk about it in a future podcast.
US
we'll have to
US
look
Gold,
at that in more
definitely.
detail, yeah.
Definitely. So things I love about the game then. So it's the graphics are amazing regardless of whatever platform you're playing it on. The sound is atmospheric. Again, on every platform that you play.
It's quite sparse in places, but it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're in the jungle, you just hear random jungle noises.
Like crickets.
Yeah.
Like okay.
And
then like dun 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 dun. Yeah. It's just the way it kind of gets you. Like you think you're calm, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then your heart was going to burst out your chest. The not knowing actually what was on the next screen was a big part of the game. Imagine if the camera had scrolled with him as you were playing those levels. Where's the suspense?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been the same. I think that's why Another World works as well, because you're always like, oh, do I have to get my gun ready? You know, do I have to jump straight away?
Yeah.
You know, it makes the game better, I think, that way.
I mean, how many times you... I'm going to get onto it. Actually, I'll skip that point I was going to mention and then go to that later. No boss fights, so you don't have to worry about...
That's true, yeah.
Jumping around trying to beat some mad spaceship that's coming out of the sky. It's all about defeating the level.
Yeah.
So it's all about lateral thinking,
solve the puzzle
solving, bit of combat. You know, a perfect balance of mind and body.
And even just the jumping, you had to time some of your certain jumps really carefully.
The running jumps, the running jumps, and the
grabbing
the ledges.
Grab at the right time.
Grab.
Yeah. Some of them slightly off the screen, so you have to just run. You have to peg it through one screen over to the next screen.
Yeah, you sort of tiptoe, but run back again. And it's great.
He's just running. I like the way that when you run and then you change directions, he goes, whoa!
Yeah.
and then comes back the other way. And yeah, so that's a lot. The way you can use items, and it's like a bit like an RPG. So you mentioned earlier about the throwing the rock to distract the guard.
Yeah.
Throwing the teleporter to sort of just teleport from here to there.
Yeah.
Using the keys. The keys for the bridges and the other doors, and it was very much like it had RPG elements. I love a good RPG. Let's be honest.
I just think it's a perfect game at the time, wasn't it? It excelled at everything. I think really.
Yeah.
The jumping, the platform bit, the shooting bit was always good fun, and you're right. The RPG bit was a really good little added extra to it. You're right.
I think you can. It's just really obvious how much time was spent on this game.
Yeah.
When something just stinks of quality...
It oozes class, doesn't it? It oozes pure class.
It is like Stilton.
Stinks out the room.
Of quality.
Unless you hate Stilton.
I'm not a fan of smelly cheeses, but I'm a fan of Flashback, so...
Give me a smelly Flashback any day.
Smelly Flashback.
Okay, so... Do you guys have anything else you love about the game? That's pretty much what I love about it.
I don't know if you were going to go on to make a point again about the films. Is that to come?
Or... Oh no, make the point. Let's touch on the film.
The first film that comes to mind, and the thing it has the most in common with, I think, is Total Recall.
Yes, very much Total Recall.
Lost memory. He records a memory. He records the message to himself.
Yeah.
Just like he does in Total Recall.
Yeah.
I think, is there even a direct line from it in there? I think he says...
I think it is. Yeah.
Be careful, that's my head you're messing with, or something like that. And he said when Arnold gets the message, when he's trying to pull the tracking thing out of his nose.
Yeah, he's telling you,
he says
be
that
careful,
to
that's my head. Yeah.
So I think there's a direct line. So you've got that. You've got like Blade Runner elements, with there's like replicants and stuff, and just the whole kind of atmosphere as well of like New Washington and some of the buildings and stuff.
They live.
Obviously. Go on.
Films.
Rowdy Roddy Piper,
John
Carpenter. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that film.
So that's obviously lifted from that. There's more. The book 1984.
Yeah.
They're having like named zones.
Oh yeah.
It's like New Washington.
Yeah.
That's obviously come from there. So there's so many inspirations you can see. The Running Man.
Yes.
When you come to the game show, is it Death Tower?
That is completely Running Man.
Completely Running Man.
It is. Yeah, it's basically Running Man.
So it's just like this. And again, we're talking about they're all films. Like,
and these are all films we love, don't we? So it adds to it.
Brilliant sci-fi.
There was never a Running Man game, was there?
Was there not like a really bad like C64?
I've got a feeling there was like a Spectrum or some dodgy game. I've got a feeling there might be, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, Smash TV was a homage to it.
Oh yeah,
but there was never a.
I don't think so. I just think it might have been on one of the home computers.
Listeners, again, if you know of a Running Man video game,
Oh, Aliens at the very end when he goes into hypersleep.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Goes into suspended
and goes
animation.
into suspended animation.
The teleport thing, Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah, but yeah.
Quite Star Trekky.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, when he beams up to the alien planet.
that's quite beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
There's loads. The alien planet. Does that remind me of anything? I don't know.
Well, the jungle sea movie from Predator, possibly.
Yeah. Good shout.
Basically, we could tell a lot from what Delphine Software
Yeah.
workers liked
What
to
films
watch.
they liked.
What films they like to watch in their spare time.
Slight update. The Running
cool.
Man game was released, actually.
Go on, what
Oh,
was
how
it for?
did you find that out from?
Yeah, my brain. 1989 it was released by Emerald Software.
Oh.
And it was available on the Amstrad CPC, Commodore 64,
Yes,
the
I had a
Spectrum,
feeling 64, yeah.
but also the Atari ST and the Amiga.
Oh, I don't know if I played
What
it
kind of
somewhere at
reception
some
did it
point.
get?
Emerald Software.
I can see a couple of reviews, sort of like 3 out of 5, and it looks not too bad from the pictures. You know, we'll have to check that out, won't we?
I think we will.
There you go.
It's another podcast. In the back.
The Running Man.
So, yeah,
And-
influences obvious.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What we love about the game, obvious.
Mm.
I reviewed it for the site. Did I give it 93% or something? I hope I did.
I'm pretty sure.
I think
you
it's-
Is there any negatives? Because I remember we said nothing bad about it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's like you're reading my mind right now.
It's done positives, but will he do negatives?
Yes. Here's my long list of things I don't like about Flashback.
It's like one thing.
The controls on the Amiga. The rolling into another screen and there being a drop.
Yeah, there is some
Yeah.
blind drops as well in the last stage where you have to drop from one screen to
Mhm.
another, which
That's
will
it.
involve dying.
They're your two negatives.
That's it.
That's it. That's all I
I
don't
don't
like
think-
about this game.
Without wishing to incur your wrath,
Mm.
I don't think the combat control is perfect.
Mm. Say
That is
how.
all. Just when you're fighting the morphs, especially they're quite difficult.
Roll
It
and
might
shoot,
just be-
roll and
The
shoot.
rolling, yeah. I don't know.
Roll and
it's
shoot. Roll and roll and roll
Something
and shoot.
about it doesn't feel as nice as it should.
Roll
The
and
rest of the controls I
shoot.
love. The jumping, the running, and everything feels really natural. But I'm talking about I'm trying to be nitpicky because I love it as well.
Pick those nits.
Pick those
I-
nits. But that's
I think the
only thing
combat
that
element
really-
in Another World was actually slightly better. Yeah, but slightly better. I like Another World, the laser guns, different options than a laser. Is the gun in Flashback just bullets? Is that it?
Yes.
Whereas Another World's got those 3 options, hasn't it? Which I think added a little bit of twist to it. So
Yeah.
That would have been quite cool if he picked up different weapons.
Eric
Been
Charkey
another-
won, Paul Quisse nil on that
Maybe,
score.
maybe.
Only on that score.
Only on that one. Okay.
So,
But yes, a small
Flashback.
negatives.
great game.
Undoubtedly.
Sequel time.
Deep breath, everybody.
wow.
Do do do. Fade to Black.
Oh yes.
Released in 1995 on the PC and 1996 on the PlayStation 1.
Woohoo!
The game only had 2 ports, and I can say I've played both of them.
Me too.
Okay. 2D format ditched
Out the window.
in favour of a third-person 3D game. That's right, listeners. Conrad has gone 3D. Lock up your daughters. Natural progression, given the clamour for 3D games at the time.
It was the climate,
Yeah.
wasn't it? If they'd made a 2D game.
Crikey. Who do we owe that to? PC or Sony? Thanks a lot, Sony, I think.
Yeah.
For that. 50 so the plot. 50 years on from the first game. So, first game 2140.
Mm-hmm.
Fade to Black set
2190?
2190. So Conrad is how many years old?
Wow. I don't know.
At least 80?
He's about 80 years old.
Yeah.
Is he walking around with a Zimmer frame? Is that the game then?
Yeah, but suspended animation.
He's an
people.
80-year-old who
Just-
looks like a 30-year-old.
You've seen Aliens.
Yeah.
Everyone's seen Aliens.
We know how it works.
we know how Sigourney works. Anyway, actually, if Conrad just stayed in that escape pod, Fade to Black wouldn't be very interesting, would it?
That's true.
It'd just be us looking at an escape pod.
A man floating in space.
A man
mate.
floating in space game. Fade to Black, and then it just fades to black.
I would play it.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Just because it's a sequel to
Yeah,
Flashback.
why not?
But someone has to pick up the escape pod for this to be.
Yeah.
It's a good guy, right? Tell me it's a good
Of course,
guy.
yeah. I mean, eventually the good guys find him and everyone's happy. And...
But it is the thing, yeah, the good guys didn't find him.
No.
No. So 50 years after he thwarted them, the Morphs found him.
Ah, crap.
And you know what? They are ones, unfortunately, to hold a bit of a grudge.
50-year grudge.
So they instantly recognise him,
Yep.
even if they haven't seen him for 50 years. And they stick him
instead of killing him on the spot, which they could quite easily do considering he's asleep.
Yeah.
Wake him up and put him in prison.
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of prison?
It's a big ship, isn't it?
Is it New Alcatraz?
New
That's
Alcatraz.
New Alcatraz.
Someone's been doing their homework.
Oh,
And it isn't me.
These morphs have been looking back on the the Earth's history, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's on the moon, isn't it, or something? Is it on the moon?
I
Did
think
I
it's
just add
It's
that
on
bit
a
for
moon,
colour?
I think.
It's
It's
on a moon.
one of Morph's planet's moon.
Okay.
So that's the end of the game. You just rattle
Conrad
around the
in
cell.
prison.
Yeah, you just rattle around the cell and twiddle your thumbs.
Mark the days off on the wall.
Yeah.
Throw your mug on the bars.
Yeah. He actually gets about 80 years old.
You
and then
admire
he
your
gets some-
white shirt.
Yeah. He gets some kind of an allowance that's a bit like a pension. He can get some...
Trade cigarettes with chocolate. And
Yeah.
whatever they do in prison.
Yeah.
Well,
You wonder why people didn't like it?
Well, I like the intro, actually. I think it's quite short and simple, but it's quite, whoa. It's all
It
action,
is.
isn't it?
The intro looked good for the time, especially on console for someone like me who wasn't a PC gamer. I really liked the intro. I was like, yeah, this is the future of gaming.
So now that you've mentioned the good old intro, okay, you don't just spend your
Yeah,
life
sorry.
in a cell. Sorry, April Fool. You get contacted by a guy called John O'Connor.
John O'Connor.
So going
Leader of the
from
Resistance.
the Total Recall influences, we've now gone solidly to Terminator, and
Yeah.
so it's no longer a film noir. It's now an all-out
Yeah,
sci-fi
sci-fi,
shooter where Conrad.
It's no longer a platformer, really.
It's no longer a platformer. It's a good old 3D third-person shooter where you, as Conrad, join John. He's part of a resistance against the Morphs.
Is it the Mandragore?
Mandragore, you really
Boom.
You
Well
are
done.
taking research to a whole new level today, mate. And so he has to do similar things in Flashback. So there's one where you have to get a Professor Bergstein, he needs his knowledge about the master brain. So you escort him around a bit like the VIP level in Flashback. But we don't mind, it's in 3D.
We
so
like 3D.
It's completely different. It's in 3D, it's fine. And you stick with the resistance, and spoiler alert, you eventually beat the master brain, but there are some twists along the way. About midway through the game, something called a supermorph chases you. It's one of the most scariest things you'll ever see in a video game.
Wow.
I absolutely bricked my pantaloons when I first saw it. Guess who turns out to be the supermorph? John O'Connor.
Oh, no.
Spoiler alert. So Delphine, they still know how to do a plot twist or two. Let's be honest. And you get there, and there's a bit of love action in there. Lovely Sarah.
Sarah.
Yes.
Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
O'Connor.
No, I don't think she's called Sarah O'Connor.
O'Connor.
But you can actually. There's a couple of different endings to the game, so you can kind of blast your way through.
Nice.
Either escape the planet. It's always about escaping the planet
Yeah.
with Conrad. With her, or with or without her.
Bit of Bono, get you two in there.
With or without her. Oh, you
So
two.
now you sound like you're channeling a bit of Stewie Griffin then.
With or without her. You two's lawyers are going to be on my ass in a minute. Anyway. And then, so you can either. Those are the two endings, so
Yeah.
it's a good plot. It's a sci-fi plot. They had to do something. They probably couldn't copy the first game exactly, and it was originally called Crossfire,
Yeah.
which is another cool name for a game.
It's a cool name for a game, yeah.
Come on. The PlayStation 1 version was a bestseller in the UK.
Oh yeah, it was massive. So I remember.
And it became a platinum title. So
It
the
did.
one I bought a couple of weeks ago is the platinum version. So it sold that many.
It's a good. Well, obviously, people knew it's a sequel to
Its
Flashback.
reputation.
People willing to pay and give it a good
And
go.
also the public kind of hunger for those kind of 3D games at the time.
Yeah, Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider,
huge.
come on, Tomb Raider was the game.
So this is probably the scientific, the sci-fi version.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about sort of progression and stuff. The game used motion capture.
Ah.
So man with balls on his suit moves around.
Yep.
Capture the motion,
Capture that motion.
put it in the 3D, not sprite, but 3D object.
Yes.
3D asset, as I suppose
Again, it was early days.
developers would call it.
Early days for that technology, wasn't it?
It really was. How did people talk about it at the time? IGN gave it 7 out of 10.
Not bad.
Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Generous.
And it pretty much fluctuated between that.
It wasn't panned.
I think official PlayStation magazine must have given it around the same.
Yeah.
And that's,
It had positive. Yeah, it was kind of mixed to positive.
it was generally positive,
Yeah.
wasn't it? There was a cancelled sequel/prequel to it called Flashback Legends. It was developed for the Game Boy Advance, which was
I've heard about this. Yes.
which was sort of a cross between the two games, but made more cartoony.
Yeah, it had like a cartoony anime type style.
Could have worked. Possibly.
Listeners, give it a Google, have a look at the videos. Very interesting, but never released.
The cool thing about that, because I did see a video of it, it almost looks like the game is finished, and everything is of a certain cartoony style except Conrad's sprite. It's almost as if that was the last thing that needed changing, but they used his sprite from Flashback.
Yeah, it doesn't quite.
So
They obviously had a big
Sprite
argument:
that you
white
can-
shirt or the pink shirt. They couldn't decide.
I think he's got a pink shirt, if I remember rightly.
I think it was the pink
I think
shirt.
it is a pink
He's come
shirt.
back.
Yeah,
That's why
Well,
they
it's a
didn't like it.
Nintendo version,
but
isn't it?
true.
So.
But definitely check that out. It's an interesting little tidbit.
So before I open this up to the floor, I'll tell the listeners now that the game has been panned quite a lot in recent times because it hasn't aged well, and with a lot of those PlayStation games, hasn't aged well. But the first time I played Fade to Black was on the PC.
Okay.
So
then or later?
Then. So
okay.
this is actually it must have been when it maybe only a year or something after it first came out, because my cousin had quite a slow running PC at the time, and we were given some money by his mum to go down the arcades, but we chose to invest it in a game instead.
Yep.
I
Sensible,
hope she's not
sensible.
listening, because I don't think that was at her permission, so sorry for that.
Bit cheeky.
Yeah, a bit cheeky. So we went down to Curry's, I think it was.
Not Curry's PC World.
Nope.
Not just good old Curry's.
Good old Curry's. And tried to find a PC game that would actually run on his computer, and that was only about £10. Enter Flashback. No, enter
Fade to Black.
Yeah, no, could have got Flashback for a £5. No, Fade to Black. So, and it looked amazing, right? So the PC version, in comparison to the PlayStation version, even though it's not as defined, I think looks better, because the main sprite looks more like the Conrad from Flashback,
Okay.
as opposed to the blocky sort of 3D protagonist of the PlayStation era. And you can see that his shoulders are grossly disproportionate on the PlayStation version. It looks like he's got melons up there or something. Like he's not only trying to get out of Alcatraz, he's trying to sneak out some melons at the same time. On his shoulders. I know.
Yeah.
Check it. So, things I liked about the game. I have a list.
The list.
Actually, what do you think would be better to talk about first?
Well,
What,
can I
the
talk about
good
how I...
or the bad, or how we
Yeah.
think of it?
Well, I remember actually, because at the time I had a really old PC, could barely play anything, and me and my brothers, we'd done a paper, and every week we'd put most of the money towards a new computer, and finally we got a Pentium PC, and the game which was bundled with it, because it's quite, it must have been about the time when Fade Black was coming out, was a game called Bioforge. Ever heard about that?
I've never heard of it.
It's an obscure sort of 3D game, and I quite like it actually. I might even talk about it one day, but it's quite really interesting sci-fi kind of 3D game, but really, really early days. And I was like, this is good, but obviously I knew Fade to Black was out as well, just come out, so I sort of begged for that game for my parents, and they got it just so we could test the computer out. It's full extent, and I'll tell you what, when I put that into my PC, it brings back so many good memories. I loved it. I know it hasn't aged particularly well now, but the memories for me is like, yeah, this is amazing, because it was really early days in 3D, wasn't it? And I thought, wow, this is pushing this computer to its limits. So I have very, very good memories of the game, to say.
Taking the PC version out of it, which I think looks quite slick in comparison, the PS1 version is very blocky. Now you look at it, and PlayStation games that have aged well are the not blocky ones. The blocky ones tend to get pushed to the back of the cupboard.
It's very rough.
It's very rough, and it's hard to look at it sometimes.
All you have to do is a direct comparison with the first Tomb Raider game as well.
Oh yeah.
And it does not fare well.
No.
And then that's blocky.
That's blocky, but it's the way it moves, and it's
the backgrounds and everything. It's just so much nicer, so much smoother, and there's more detail.
Yeah. The other thing why the PC version, I think, favours, is very favourable compared to the PS1 version, is it's slightly more zoomed out. I think the PlayStation version is too much on contrast. I don't think you see as much.
Yeah.
And I like to see, when I'm playing games, I like to see a lot of what's going around.
But that was, I've not played the PC version, but that was one of my issues when controlling the PlayStation one. I dealt with the camera. And yeah. So so that might make it a bit more of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah. I think it would.
The graphics are crisper on the PC, aren't they? Is that fair?
They're definitely crisper on the PC. The game is ridiculously hard, even on easy.
Yes.
Yeah, I died often.
Me and my cousin completed the PC version. We did play it relentlessly for a week, but we still completed it. But this one, I picked it up, like I said to you guys a couple of weeks ago before doing this podcast.
PS version,
and I couldn't get past the second. Actually, I think I got about an hour into it. Maybe I got to the bit where you're on that sort of the alien planet, and then you speak to that weird thing in the wall called Azir, and he's going Azir. That bit. And I didn't get much further past that. It's just crazy difficult.
Yeah.
A slight redeeming feature, even on the PlayStation version, you can save at any point. So you can do it, you can do like a puzzle, save it, and then die immediately the next 2 seconds, and then just go back to it and realise why you died, and then just do it. But it's it's extremely trial and error.
Yeah.
It's Fade to Black.
And again, I know we're early days on the PlayStation, but when you die, then there's a pause while you wait for the death screen to load.
There was quite a few death screens.
Yeah, which are very nice, but you have to wait for that to load, watch it, game over, then wait for it to load again, and then start the level. And also, you have to go, it takes you back to the start of the level before you can load your game. So there's another wait there.
Those little things add up, don't they?
Yeah, and it just makes it frustrating.
They do.
It does make it frustrating.
The morphs in this version do the same blobby kind of thing they did in Flashback, but now they do it without you really noticing and kill you instantly.
Yep. And sometimes you're not even sure where the shot came from.
Where the shot came from, or what's going
on.
Around. You kind of turn around and you've trodden on a morph, and he's dissolved all your flesh.
Yeah.
As you get, you're just walking down the street.
It happens.
Tread on a morph, and off comes all your flash. All your flash.
All your
flash.
Have me flash.
It's been a long day listening, so flash. So, we said a lot of bad things about Fade to Black.
We haven't said.
But the main reason I wanted to do this podcast is I'm trying to get people to play Fade to Black.
Now, this is a good point. I will let you continue.
I
will let you finish.
Yes.
But I think, like you said earlier, it's got a terrible reputation now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just go, yes, everyone says it's crap.
Let's not bother
I'm
playing
not going to bother playing it. Which is, and it probably happens a lot with old games now. But they go, old blocky PlayStation 1 game, I don't want to play that, that's rubbish. Without actually trying it for themselves.
If you like Flashback, you have to play Fade to Black. It is the only sequel it ever had. You know?
There was a remastered Flashback, to be fair.
Oh god!
Just putting that.
That's you are just really reading my mind.
Jumping the gun.
Sorry.
Don't give Adrian a gun because he'll jump
it.
Unless Conrad, because Conrad jump with anyway.
I think the plot is a decent extension to the old one.
Yeah.
I like the story in it, actually. I remember it engrossed me when I was playing the PC version many years ago. I like the cutscenes. I even like death scenes kind of thing. They're quite...
Yeah. You've got to remember at the time, a lot of it was new at the time. And for me, as a console game, I'd never seen... these cutscenes and things by then were quite common.
How great were those death scenes?
In PC games, they were quite common by then.
How great were those death
not
scenes?
so much.
Look, we're talking... okay, you get shot. You tread on something that explodes. You explode.
Yeah.
I like the window one. You shoot a window, you get sucked out.
You get sucked out. You get sucked out into space.
That's my personal
I'm
favourite.
in space.
Well, you shoot a bad guy. Okay, you kind of see there's glass behind him, and then the game freezes, and you're thinking, "What have I done?
Have I completed the game? I've completed the game.
I've completed the game. No, I've been sucked out into outer space." Yeah. The plot is good. The cut sequences,
they're pretty
are
good.
gorgeous.
They
I
are.
even like the radiation one. You guys seen the radiation one? If you go into the room without...
Is it when you turn into a skeleton?
No, the skeleton one is where the morph gets you.
Oh, yeah.
The radiation one's a bit later on in the game.
Okay.
But he just, his skin all, shrivels as if you're in Chernobyl. And yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
It's
wow.
pretty nasty, but amazing for kids to look at.
Yeah.
So kids...
Oh, I would have been a kid for that
Go
time. Yeah.
Go and have a look at that. It still scares the bejesus out of you.
Yeah.
Flashback was scary. When you used to go through it to the next screen and you see all those cops after you and all the morphs and everything.
Panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fade to Black is exactly the same.
Yeah.
You go through rooms, you get chased by super morphs, you get chased by aliens. It's all pretty scary stuff.
It's an intense game, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You can't... Even though it's quite slow controls, it's quite fast action, isn't it?
The tank controls don't really help the game, but controlling Conrad in it is a bit like controlling a tank.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting tank.
Yeah.
It's an interesting tank with surprises around every corner, and they do. The levels do sometimes feel a bit claustrophobic and a bit repetitive. Like they have exactly the same framework. There's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But they do okay with it. They do okay with it.
Claustrophobia, though, in a game like that, it kind of adds to the atmosphere, though.
A bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes
I don't mind that so much.
I feel okay. We're done with a bit more space on some of the levels. Like I said, the Alien Planet level just feels like they reskinned the first level, the prison level, but they just made all the walls look like.
Is there a level where you control a spaceship yourself? Or am I imagining that? Am I talking rubbish? I've got a feeling there's a little level like you have to actually control a ship, like
Possibly.
a shooting lesson. Yeah.
Like I said, it's been years since I've completed the PC version, and the PlayStation version was so.
I think it's a bit further on. I think it's a bit further on.
I think
honestly,
it does ring a bell. See, so there you go.
Yeah.
See, innovation, right? This is something that had to be done. I think you could have had a 2D Fade to Black, and it would have been very good. But they had to do it this way. This is the way the video games was going.
I think Flashback's an older game. It has aged ridiculously well. Fade to Black's a newer game, but has aged badly. Just in the look. So those kind of really top-notch 2D games don't age at all in my eyes. I think Another World, completed recently on the Jaguar, brilliant. And just the graphics keep it looking fresh, simple. Whereas those early 3D games, I respect. I love.
Dude,
the
I'm
Jaguar.
trying to get people to play Fade to Black. I'm trying to get people to
okay.
come on.
I was bigging up a little bit. I'm just saying
It's being fair because it was just it's happened to a lot of games from that 32-bit era. They've suffered by just being from that time.
Yeah.
So many of the 16-bit and 8-bit games, the pixel art style still look really appealing to the eye. But like you said just now, it's a game that had to be made.
Yeah.
If Fate to Black and Paul Quissé, I'm sure he said that he wished he could have done more with it.
Yeah.
If it had come out, say, even 2 or 3 years later, when we look at, I'm going to say it, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil, by then the detail and do you know what I mean? And if Fade to Black had come out in like 98 instead of 96, 95, 96, it could have been a whole different game.
Yeah.
It's an important game.
It would look smoother.
That's what I mean. So I think it probably depends on when you play it as well as to how you feel about it. You guys both played it then, and you both played it on the PC. I hadn't played it until recently, and I played it on the PS1. And found it hard to like and find things to like about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was determined not to come on here today and put the boot into it because, again, I respect they had to try it. They were trying new things. This was a whole new genre. The PS1 was a new system.
It's one of the pioneers of that genre.
Yeah,
It's a really popular genre right now.
It laid the groundwork for what came afterwards. So I don't think there's anything to be gained from slagging it off.
You can't compare this to Gears of War or something, but debatable whether that game would have even happened without.
That's exactly right. That's
games
what I'm
like
saying.
Fade to Black that actually laid that
It's
groundwork.
too easy to go back to the PS1 Saturn era and say that looks terrible, that looks rubbish, that looks. This was groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah,
and
you
so
have to appreciate that.
Exactly. And so I mean, just quickly, one of the things I really liked about it, I quite liked the claustrophobic atmosphere in space. I thought that I thought that kind of added to it. Controls were horrible. Don't like the controls.
Nah.
On PlayStation. Again, can't speak for the PC. I really liked the music.
Yeah.
And again,
this is still Delphine at the end.
Like Flashback, it was really and it's one of the first games well, it must have been then that to have on console to have like a dynamic soundtrack, a bit like we talked about with Metal Gear Solid, where it changes depending on what's happening. So it's like calm, and then an enemy appears somewhere. The soundtrack changes, and because now we're on to CD soundtracks as well.
Yeah.
It was just, and that was one of the, must have been one of the first console games to have that.
Yeah.
So
it was because that's what Delphine were really good at. And they did that kind of tension building and
so I like
action
that.
changing, through sound.
Yeah.
And we did an interview the other day with Thierry Lavache, of course, one of Delphine's graphic supremos, and he said moving into 3D was a complete unknown to them. They were doing backgrounds and sprites and in 2D. This 3D step was unknown for them, and they said, "Okay, let's do it."
They gave a good shot.
Yeah.
I like the game. I do like the game. So like I said, it probably hasn't aged particularly well, but it's definitely worth playing.
It might be ugly, but that doesn't mean that shouldn't be a reason to not try again.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Just because it's not appealing to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you take Flashback, take Fade to Black, understand what needed to have been done, then you'll appreciate the game.
Because if they released a Flashback 2 similar view, it would have been panned, bro, wouldn't it? It's just the same as the original.
The same.
Yeah.
I think what you touched on earlier as well, it kind of suffers by comparison. If Flashback had just been like an average looking game, but instead it was like the pinnacle of 2D.
Yeah.
And so then you've got like a really rough early 3D game. So even by comparison to the first game, it looks bad. And it just makes the difference.
Don't you just wish they'd make a third one, like a one proper new,
proper Flashback sequel.
maybe Fade to White or something. I don't know.
Paul, get on it. You've heard us.
Well, I'm sure you're going to mention it, but why they didn't do that instead of HD remake?
Okay.
So go on, tell us.
HD remake proves that by updating things in a new gen 2D style, it's just pointless.
Yeah.
They did it with Strider, they did it with Flashback, and I just can't look at them actually.
Do you know,
they did it with Monkey Island.
I quite like the remake of Monkey Island, I'm going to say.
I don't like it, can't look at it. I just
you know what though?
Compared to the pixel art version, I just can't look at it.
I have to show you that there's a worse one. Do you remember Gods?
Oh yeah. Well, they've done HD.
Well, they're apparently, I don't know if I don't think it's the same team, but they're trying to make a HD remake. It looks disgusting.
No, guys.
I have to show you the picture. It looks like one of those really dodgy. You have to see. It's unbelievable.
This is not a good idea, but the 2D Flashback remake just doesn't have the same balancing controls. It looks prettier from an objective perspective. Obviously, it's 20 years. It's what, like, not 20 years. Yeah, 25 years.
When did it come out?
92. Flashback.
When did the remake come out? Was it
Last
year?
A couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Years ago.
Yeah.
Something like 20 years. But they just took all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
They took all the fun out of it, all the suspense out of it, and everything that. And
From what I've seen, it's just like a straight up kind of shooting.
Yeah, it's
action shooter.
They tried doing the same levels, and I just couldn't persist with it.
I haven't played the truth.
And that first level is a proper full-on tutorial now as well.
Yep.
Oh, is it? They changed.
So instead of what I was saying, where it intuitively leads you through what you need to learn.
Yeah.
Then now it's like every other game. It's like, okay, this is how you jump.
Yeah.
This is how you do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Disappointing.
It's kind of tarnished the legacy a bit, hasn't it? Do you not feel? Just that new. I think they need to. They should have made a whole new
Definitely.
one.
But it brings me on nicely to my final point.
Here we go.
So what could they have done differently with Fade to Black? So the PlayStation had some really nice looking 2D platformers on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So if they'd had made Fade to Black as a 2D platformer
Yeah.
on a 32-bit machine, people may not pan it so much now.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible point to make, considering that it was the pioneer in what is now a very popular genre. I spoke to Tom Kalinske, obviously last year, former CEO of Sega of America, and one thing I asked him about the Mega CD, and the one thing he said to me was it had to be done. The step up to optical media was a necessity. What they had at the time was a very, well, arguably the most popular 16-bit console, which had the ability to whack onto the extension port a CD player, and they did it.
Yeah.
Okay, the Mega CD had a limited amount
It's
of
got
games.
a mixed bag, isn't it? I think some good, some bad. Is that fair?
Yeah, but
Yeah, but I think there's merit to its library. There are good games. There's reasons to go out and get a Mega CD.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Flashback CD version is one of them.
Yeah.
And the Another World sequel is one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The definitive version of Final
So at that time, yeah, could they have made Fade to Black a 2D game, and yeah, would it have been more well received now? Probably, but they didn't.
There's a difference though. It probably wouldn't. It would have been panned then,
Yeah.
and now people look back and go, actually, it's pretty good. Instead of the other way around.
Mhm.
And if you're a games developer, you got to think about now. You can't think about the 20 years in the future.
Nope.
Yeah. What do people want now?
Exactly.
Which is why they keep making the same games over and over again every year these days. Sorry, carry on.
So to conclude, after about an hour of talking about
Yep.
Flashback and Fade to Black, Flashback is untouchable as far as I'm concerned.
It's a great game.
As a
Yeah.
video
It's
game.
a truly great game.
Could Fade to Black have been better?
Of course.
Probably.
Possibly not, though.
Possibly.
With the
Is
time.
it as bad as its reputation?
Is it as bad as its reputation is now? No way.
No, it's not.
No way. The PC version still brings back brilliant memories for me. I kind of want to play the PC version again, but in a way, it's kind of good that I'm having it because the memories are brilliant. So I would, like Dylan said, give it a chance. I do think it's worth
I'm sure
giving
you
it a
can
chance.
emulate it easily. And how much did you pay for your PS1 copy?
I paid £4
Or you can pick it up cheaply for the PlayStation if
on
you
the
want to try that version.
PS1.
It's a bargain, really.
You know, get out there. You can probably download the PC version from somewhere. Otherwise, check out the PlayStation version and check out a game that I think is, possibly it's got to be top 50 most influential games ever.
Probably.
Just for the step that it took into that
I think the
realm.
message is to try and look past the surface
Mm-hmm.
and actually give the game itself.
Look past the surface, enjoy the game,
And rescue Comrade.
and then let it fade to black.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch regarding this week's episode or anything else, you can tweet us at Arcade Attack UK, at Keith Barlow 82 and at Arcade_Adriano. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Arcade Attack UK. Please check out our website at arcadeattack.co.uk for lots of retro gaming goodness, interviews, reviews, features, top 10s, etc. And you can also find all our previous podcasts there. Our podcasts are available to stream from the website and from SoundCloud, and are available to download for free from Stitcher, Podbean and iTunes, where you can also leave us a review and a rating, which we would really, really appreciate. So, until next time, take care, and we'll speak to you soon.